Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be ranking all 18 species of prehistoric fauna that I saw while watching Jurassic World Rebirth based on their aura. Now, obviously, spoiler warning from this point forward, so you have been warned. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Apatosaurus. Now, this guy kind of appeared in the beginning. He was in the city when Zora and the bad guy kind of driving along, and they said it was like the last known sauropod in North America. And it was just some random Apatosaurus stuck in New York City. Now, first off, you're the last one. That's kind of aura, but at the same time, kind of not. They gave him like some stupid name. It was like Benny or something. It's like Benny, I don't know. And they called it a Brachiosaurus or like a Brachiosaur, but it looked a lot like an Apatosaurus. So we'll just say it's an Apatosaurus. It was on screen for like 5-10 seconds. So honestly, we're gonna have to put the Apatosaurus into D tier because it was stuck and it was the last one. So, actually, we'll put it into C tier because it still caused like quite a traffic jam. Still blocked off most of the traffic. So, and still had that presence to it. So, we're going to put it into C tier. Next up, though, is the Dunkleosteus. Now, before you get excited, it was already dead. It was on screen. There's this net, and it picked up. There's a bunch of fish in the net, and it set it down. And the dunk skull. Like, you're going to have the image on screen right now. But that skull part. That was essentially all that was left of the dunk that they pulled up. It did look cool, but that was all that was left, and it was already dead, which is not aura. It is not aura. So I'm gonna have to put it into E tier because I'm happy a dunk finally appeared in a Jurassic movie, but it's not good. It's not looking good for him, especially because he was already dead and was only on screen for about 5 to 10 seconds. So E tier it is. What didn't have 5 to 10 seconds of screen time was the Mosasaurus. Now, the Mosasaurus was peak, all right? I like the design. It looks cool. The colors were cool. It working with the Spinos was cool. I mean, it took down 2 ships. That's aura on its own. It took down 2 ships. And it was the scene, which it was in the trailers, the scene, but the scene with, it, next to the boat and, Zora was, hanging off the ship. And, its, eye looked into it. That was just aura. Pure aura. So I'm not gonna lie. Mosasaurus has to go into S tier. There's just one problem I have with it. He has a pot belly, which it's not really noticeable here, but if you watch a movie, when he jumps, when he leaps out the water, he has a huge belly, huge old belly, which kind of makes him look goofy, kind of makes him look like a whale, which doesn't remove him his aura. I just thought it would be funny to point that out, that he has a beer belly. But the belly, man, the belly is huge. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but the belly is ginormous. I could be wrong, though. Correct me in the comments. But we're going to go ahead and move on with the Spinosaurus. Now, there wasn't just 3 Spinos. There was 4, possibly even 5. And I'm not gonna lie to you. They don't have as much aura as Jurassic Park 3, but they are not bad. They are cool. All right? I can't lie to you. They are peak. So there's 4 of them. Maybe 5. I'll get to the 5 in a second. So essentially, there was a second ship, and the Mosasaurus started attacking. And then they got close to land, and then the Spinos started coming in and attacking, and the Spinos ate 2 people. The Spinos ate 2 people. That is insane. I mean, not really, just only 2 people, but Spinos did get to eat some people, which is peak. There was this one person that we saw in the trailers hanging onto the door that got eaten. That was peak. And there was this other lady that fell off the thing. No. She didn't even fall off. That's actually, we're going to get to that later. Because that was also peak. That was a peak getting eaten scene, I guess. They attacked the ship. The designs, they're growing on me. They could have done, if you want to act like a John, you could be like, oh, they could have been a little bit more paleo accurate, but I think they're fine. They're not, you can't beat Jurassic Park 3, but they are, well, you can, but you get what I'm saying. They are pretty good designs. I do like them. And then there's 4, quote unquote, of them. So it is cool. They are menacing. They do have a lot of aura in the scenes that they are in. But then they get to the beach, right? The Spinos are still circling. And then there's this one lady dragging a bunch of supplies. And then she, you see, this is why I'm confused if there's 4 or 5, because there's you see the viewer sees a Spino kind of sitting on the rocks and then getting up, which it doesn't make sense. Why would one Spino just if there's 4, why would one of them come up, sit on the rocks, and then swim back down? It wouldn't make sense. But if there's 5, why is this one random Spino just chilling there? But I don't know. So yeah, there's a Spino who's sitting on the rocks, and he got off, got into water, went around, so you couldn't really see him, and then it was behind. So the lady went behind the thing too, because the Spino went behind. And the lady went behind the thing of supplies. And then you hear her scream, and then the Spino picks up the lady and eats her and then swims back off to the ocean. Which is kind of not really terrifying, but it is really cool. I do like it. The scene was pretty cool. And then also, to add to the aura, there was this in the beginning, all right, the family group, because you have the two different groups. You have the mercenaries and the family. They're on their boat. They looked out into the ocean. They're like, hey, are those dolphins? Like the little girl asked, hey, are those dolphins? And the other girl was like, what? No, dolphins don't have sails. And you just see like 3 or 4 Spinos circling in the ocean, which is kind of peak. Very peak. Lots of aura. So we're going to have to put them into S tier. Next up is a creature I do not know the name of because it was barely in the movie. It was like, it's one of those 5 to 10 second creatures, which is what I'm going to call them, like the Dunk or the Apatosaurus. It was some kind of aquatic snake. I don't even know if it was a prehistoric snake, but it was some kind of aquatic snake. In a scene or two, you could see it in the water, and then the main character was like, hey, we should get out of the water. There's something in the water. And then they got out of the water. And yeah, that was about it. So, aquatic snake, don't even know the name of. Might not even be a prehistoric aquatic snake. We're just going to put it into F tier, I can't lie. Next up, though, is the Aquilops, named Dolores. Now, very cool in the movie. It wasn't annoying like Blue. It was actually like, it was cool. It was kind of cute or whatever. So, it did its job. But thing is, it might not have aura on its own. You gotta think about it. What did this thing do to be put on this island that supposedly housed the most dangerous creatures? Like the assets that InGen couldn't put in the parks? Why was this thing here? Because this thing was tamed with like licorice, alright? The girl fed it licorice and then it followed her. So what? How is this thing one of the most deadly creatures on the island? And the fact that it survived that long, I mean, it obviously solos anything. It obviously solos the D-Rex. So we're going to have to put it into S tier. But in all reality, it's going to go into C tier. It didn't really have aura. It also didn't really not have aura. It was just neutral, I guess. So we're going to move on with what I can only presume to be the Diplocaulus. Now, I don't even know if it was a Diplocaulus. There's 2 scenes. One of them, it was like on the water or something. And it was some kind of amphibian for like 5 to 10 seconds. Not even. It was like 1 to 5 seconds. Short little period of time. And then in another scene, they're going through a swamp. The family group, they're going through a swamp. And there's this tree, and there's this thing that looked like a Diplocaulus. It was kind of big, though. And it, like, slivered down a tree. And that was all. Which, if it was a Diplocaulus, cool. Even though I'm pretty sure they're tiny. If it wasn't, I don't know what it was. It was some kind of prehistoric amphibious creature. So, I don't know. We're going to put it into E tier, though, because I'm glad it is in a movie. But at the same time, what even is this thing? Also, it was only on screen for 1 to 5 seconds. You can't have aura if you're barely on screen. Which sadly also applies to the Velociraptors. Now, essentially, the only scene that they were in was this dude went out to pee, and then the 2 raptors were trying to sneak up on him, and then the Mutadon attacked and ate them, which we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to Mutadon in a sec, which the whole purpose of the raptors in this movie was just to show that the Mutadons were better.
You were the only one that was nearly as strong as me.
Buddy, you think you look strong? You're wearing a cape. You're just a cheap fucking knockoff.
Oh, no. I'm the upgrade.
Which, if you had this peak of a design, why? Just why? Absolutely no aura. I can't lie. I'm gonna have to put him into E tier, bro. Because you were for a second, you're like, oh no, this guy might be cooked. And then the Mutadon came in and all that jazz, and they got absolutely packed up. So we're gonna have to put the Raptor sadly into E tier. I do love the design though. It is very good design. What's not a good design is the Mutadon. Now, first off, the Mutadon. I'm gonna tell you the reasons why we have to hate the Mutadon. First off, it flies it flies like a pterosaur. So it gets even worse than that. It jumped the raptors. It ate them, and then it picked up their bodies. Well, it picked up a body of a raptor and flew off. It just like flew off, dude. Not even tree gliding, none of that. If it like glided, maybe, but no, it just like straight up started flying. Which that scene kind of ruined it. But then they showed up again later on in the research area, and then that scene, they were a lot better there. If they just kept that scene, that would have been perfect. I don't even know how they would have changed the raptor scene. Maybe just make it so it didn't fly, just like walked away. The flying just doesn't make sense at all. And then also, I mean, it's essentially just a weird dragon at that point. But the gas station scenes, they do gain some aura back, sadly. Because like they're like slithering around, they were kind of creepy. Like there's this one scene where it, like slivered into a sewer system, and then another scene where it was like in the ceiling, like bursting out, like it was bursting out of an egg, which was kind of terrifying. So I will give them that. They do have some aura. I'm still going to put them into D tier because they're just stupid. They had, I'm pretty sure, between them and the Rex, they had a lot of screen time. They had more screen time, I think, than the D-Rex, which is kind of dumb since the D-Rex is the quote-unquote main bad. All my homies hate the Mutadons except for John, so we're going to put him into D tier. What's not going into D tier is the Titanosaurus. Now, these are so peak, all right? The scene of them, all right? You got all of like the mercenaries kind of pulling up on them to get the DNA. And like they were huge and they're all in shock and stuff, like the first Jurassic Park, which was peak. And like they had super long tails too, which is insane. Like holy dude, their tail was like double the length of their body, which was insane. And then they're like doing mating and stuff. And then it's crazy because you saw 2 of them and it was huge, right? And then you saw a few others starting to peer up out of the grass, you know, starting to like wake up, I guess. And then it panned out to like a whole valley of them, which was absolutely insane. And that's automatically S tier aura. You can't even lie. And then like they have the fin things that come out, which is pretty cool on its own. So they obviously have pretty high aura. They have pretty good aura. So we're gonna have to put them into S tier because I can't lie. That scene, you know, that was insane. All right, absolutely insane. What's not insane is the Parasaurolophus. This is another 1 to 5 second long dinosaur. Essentially, it was just a corpse that was being eaten. That's it. It's the Dominion. I think it was the Dominion design, but it was before the river raft scene. The girl pulled up, saw the raft, saw the dead corpse, and then the next dino popped up. Which before we get to that, it was just a corpse. It goes into F tier. But continuing along with the story, the girl sees the Dilophosaurus. It like jumps up on the head of the Parasaur, which is another reason why the Parasaur is an F tier. I mean, you dead and you still getting disrespected. Like, come on, bro. Can't let that slide. So yeah, the Dilophosaurus was like eating the corpse, and then the Rex started waking up, so the Dilophosaurus ran away. Which it was a cool design. I do like the design of the Dilophosaurus, but the Dilophosaurus didn't really do much. Didn't really have that much aura, because it was kind of like it stole the Rex's kill, and then it got scared when the Rex woke up, so we're gonna have to put it into D tier. And again, also the Dilophosaurus was only on screen for like 5 to 10 seconds. So D tier is where the Dilophosaurus is gonna go. Now, ending off the river raft scene is the T-Rex. Now the T-Rex, like it was crazy. The T-Rex was huge, and essentially he was just chilling. He was sleeping, and then the raft, like he woke up. All right, the raft inflated, and the Rex was behind it, and then it inflated, and then when it went like fell down into the water, the Rex was gone. He was just going to get a sip of water. And then I don't know, he was just chasing him down. The Rex was crazy. It was an absolute peak scene. Absolute peak scene. And I ain't gonna lie, the Rex had some aura. I mean, he was huge. He was ginormous. Most of the creatures here are probably oversized for like cinematic effect and stuff, but he was insane looking. So because of that, we're probably gonna have to put him into, I mean, no, not probably. We are going to have to put him into S tier. I can't lie. Moving on is the Anurognathus. Anurognathus, something like that. This is another 1 to 5 second creature. It's only on screen for that long. Agree. He looked like a frog, kind of like a flying frog looking dude. Yeah, he essentially was just flying around. One of the main characters noticed him and was like, oh, hey, this leads into the temple. And that's all the purpose he served. You might have seen them like flying around, but I also thought those were the Mutadons flying around, so I don't know what was flying around. Or it could have just been bats, who knows. But yeah, he just goes into E tier. Not much aura. That guy does not have much aura. What does have a lot of aura, surprisingly, is the Quetzalcoatlus. Now, they shouldn't have called this guy the Quetzal, because I don't know, the Dominion design is a lot better than this, I think. Like that, whatever head crest thing this has going on is just not it. It would have been cooler if it was like a Hatzegopteryx or something, but they just called it a Quetzal because it's more popular, which meh. But it did have some aura. It was like in the cave, like the little thing protecting its nest, and then knocked everyone out. And then there's this dude, he was climbing up the rock wall, and then this thing was chasing it. And then we got to the top, and the Quetzal was eating the dude. Like, they thought they pulled the dude up, and it was actually the Quetzal eating the dude. And, like, the rope was still connected to him. So, like you ate the dude, and you saw the rope getting pulled back and stuff. It was crazy. But I'm not gonna lie, it does not have as much aura as any of the other S tier options. So we're gonna have to put the Quetzal into A tier. Up next is another 5 to 10 second long creature. Not even that, it was 1 to 5 second creature. The Compsognathus. Now they did have a new design. It was red and black, or red and dark blue. I don't know. And they were only 1 to 5 seconds long in the movie. Essentially, the main characters, the mercenary group, climbed down the cliff, and the dude fell down or whatever, climbed down, and there's just a few compies down there, and then they left. Like, that was it. It was not that crazy. So they didn't really have that much aura. So again, we're gonna put them into F tier, because there was like 3 of them. There wasn't even like a big group. There was just like 3 random compies that got scared by the people coming. So F tier is where they go. Next up is the Ankylosaurus. Now, this guy was, again, another 5 to 10 second creature. Essentially, the main villain guy was driving down. He was driving the car away. Essentially, the Ankylosaurus like came out the forest and it scared the guy and he kind of drove around it, which not really much aura, but at the same time, it is an Ankylosaurus and it is kind of cool. The design is really cool. And honestly, we're going to have to put the Ankylosaurus into B tier. Okay, honestly, we're going to put the Mutadons into B tier because they suck. They are terrible, but they did have some aura to them. So we'll put them into B tier and we'll put the Ankylosaurus into D tier. No, we'll put them into C tier. Yeah, we'll put the Ankylosaurus into C tier. It had as much aura as the Loris or the Apatosaurus. Next up, the last creature on our list. Well, before we do, I'm going to give an honorable mention. Technically, there was a Triceratops or some kind of ceratopsine in a test tube for like a split second. But again, a split second, it was just in a test tube. So it's going to go to the F tier in case any Johns want to solve a movie and want to go ahead and comment that down below. But moving on with the last creature on our list is the D-Rex, the Distortus Rex. Now, first off, this thing was huge, absolutely huge, but it was a menace. All right, you got the beginning scene with it escaping because of the Snickers bar. Like the Snickers bar got sucked up into the doorway, and then all of the security systems malfunctioned, allowing the D-Rex to escape. Like a single Snickers bar allowed this beast to escape. But essentially, the scene when he escaped, he like grabbed the person and was like toying around with him, and he's like, "Please let me go, let me go." No, he's like, "Open a door, open a door." And he just got like grabbed and like played around with it and eaten. So that was aura on its own. Then later on in the movie, kind of like heard him walking around. We saw his footsteps and stuff. It's kind of like a Godzilla 2014 reveal of him. So that was peak as well. There's this other scene where the dude, the paleontologist guy, he shot up a flare to get the helicopter's attention. And he's like, "Oh yeah, we did it. And then he hears the D-Rex behind him. So he's like, "Oh no." So he's trying to warn the helicopter not to land. And then the D-Rex like bites into the helicopter and causes it to crash. Which, what? This thing just tanked it. Like he just chomped into a helicopter and threw it on the ground. That is it is. I mean, you got to see it in theaters because it was absolutely insane. Like he just grabbed onto the helicopter and then threw it into the ground. Later on, the villain got in the car and tried to drive away. Remember the Ankylosaurus, and then the D-Rex slammed his fist into the car and ate the villain. Which the D-Rex got a kill. They did it better than Dominion. The Giga didn't get a kill, but the D-Rex did. So you know what? They were not afraid to kill off some main characters. And then later on, the people were being chased by the Mutadon in the sewer tunnel, and then they escaped. Like he was just slowly walking around, just observing them. The guy with the flare like ran off and distracted it, so the other people could escape. And there was no fight scene, which is kind of sad. It's like they made it out like, oh, this guy. Oh, it's just a mutant, you got to feel bad for the mutant, but at the same time, I don't know, how are you supposed to feel bad for something that bites into a literal helicopter and throws it on the ground? Absolute peak. Obviously, it's going into S tier. Now, one last question, and that is which dino or prehistoric creature has the most aura out of any of these? Now, 3 options right now are the T-Rex, the Spino, and the D-Rex, all right? Mosa had a good bit of aura, and the Titanos did too, but the D-Rex, Spino, and Distortus. Now, I'm going to say the T-Rex is out first because the scene was perfect, but like he kind of woke up like a goofy little guy. That kind of made him lose some aura. And then the Spinos, I don't know. The Spinos, they had aura, but they didn't have as much aura as the D-Rex. Again, the helicopter scene where the D-Rex bites into the helicopter is absolutely insane. That is probably maybe not the best. It is just a peak scene. It is just a peak. And that's like the grand reveal of the D-Rex as well. So it's just absolute peak. We're going to have to say the D-Rex barely has the most aura out of any of all of these. And that is the end of today's video. Now, if you want to see more, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. But in case you don't do that, and in case I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.